The silent power move nobody saw coming after. Young Dolph, the Don's Breakdown, November 17th, 2021. The news breaks across Memphis like a shockwave. Young Dolph, gone, shot and killed at Makita's homemade butter cookies. The king of independent rap, silenced at just 36 years old. The hip-hop world mourns, the streets of Memphis weep, and everyone's asking the same question. What happens to Paper Route Empire now? But while the world focused on the tragedy, while investigators hunted for answers, while the media dissected every detail of that fatal November afternoon, one man was making moves in complete silence. His name? Key Glock, Young Dolph's cousin, his protege, his left-hand man. And what he did next, nobody saw coming. This is the story of the most calculated, strategic, and powerful response to tragedy in hip-hop history. A story of how heartbreak became dominant, how grief became greatness, and how one man turned the darkest moment of his life into the foundation of an empire. Welcome to the Don's Breakdown. I'm your host, and today we're diving deep into the silent power move that changed everything. To understand the magnitude of what happened after November 17th, you need to understand what came before it. Markevius LaShun Cathy, born August 3rd, 1997, in the heart of South Memphis. The streets that raised him were unforgiving. Poverty, violence, dreams deferred, and hopes crushed under the weight of circumstance. But Key Glock had something different, something that would catch the attention of his older cousin, Adolph Robert Thornton Jr., better known to the world as Young Dolph. When Dolph first heard his young cousin rap, he knew immediately. This wasn't just family loyalty, this was raw talent, this was the future. 2017. Key Glock gets the call that changes everything. Young Dolph wants to sign him to Paper Route Empire, not because they're family, but because Glock has that hunger, that authenticity, that Memphis grit that can't be manufactured. And from that moment, their relationship transcended business. It became brotherhood. Listen to how Key Glock described their bond. You was my left-hand man, my brother, my cousin, my mentor, and drank partner. Phil Jackson and Michael Jordan. That's how Glock saw their dynamic. Dolph was the mastermind, the strategist, the one who could see the bigger picture. And Glock, he was the execution, the talent that would carry the vision forward. But here's what most people don't realize about their relationship. Young Dolph wasn't just teaching Key Glock how to rap. He was teaching him how to think like a CEO, how to move like a businessman, how to build something that would last. Every studio session was a masterclass. Every business meeting was education. Every decision was preparation for the day when Glock would have to stand on his own. Young Dolph had a vision. He saw the potential for Paper Route Empire to become something bigger than just a record label. He saw it as a movement, a legacy, and he was grooming Key Glock to be the one who would carry that torch. But nobody expected that day to come so soon. November 5th, 2021, just 12 days before the tragedy that would shake the hip-hop world. Key Glock releases Yellow Tape 2, his second studio album, and it's not just successful, it's a statement. The album shoots straight to number 7 on the Billboard 200, number 1 on the independent albums chart, number 2 on top rap albums. Key Glock is officially a star. The Protégé has become the powerhouse. Young Dolph's vision is coming to life before his very eyes. But success in the music industry comes with a price. And in Memphis, that price can be deadly. November 17th, 2021, 12:24 p.m. Young Dolph walks into Makita's homemade butter cookies on Airways Boulevard. It's a routine stop. He's been coming here for years, supporting local business, staying connected to his community. But this time, he's being watched. Two men, Justin Johnson, 24 years old, known in the streets as Straight Drop. Cornelius D. Smith, 32. They've been waiting, planning, and when Young Dolph steps out of his camouflage Corvette, they strike. Multiple gunshots. The sound echoes through South Memphis like thunder. When the smoke clears, the king of independent rap is gone. The news spreads like wildfire. Social media explodes. The hip-hop community is in shock. Young Dolph, the man who built an empire from nothing, the mentor who changed lives, the cousin who was more like a brother, is dead. And somewhere in Memphis, Key Glock's phone starts ringing. Imagine that moment. Imagine getting the call that changes everything. The person who believed in you first, who gave you your shot, who taught you everything you know, is gone forever. Key Glock's first response, silence. While the world demanded answers, while fans flooded social media with tributes, while the media dissected every angle of the story, Key Glock said nothing. For 5 days, he stayed quiet, and people started to wonder, where is he? How is he handling this? What's going to happen to Paper Route Empire? Then, on November 22nd, Key Glock breaks his silence, and when he does, the raw emotion is undeniable. Damn, bro, I'm lost, my heart is torn, my brain about to explode. It hurts when I breathe, why you leave me so soon, I'll never be the same. But then, something interesting happens in that statement, something that reveals the mindset that would drive everything that came next. Remember I told you I got your back no matter what? I guarantee that, Not I'll miss you, not rest in peace, but I guarantee that. A promise, a commitment, a declaration that this story wasn't ending, it was just beginning. And while everyone else was focused on the grief, Key Glock was already thinking about the guarantee. Here's where the story gets interesting, because while everyone expected Key Glock to fall apart, while they waited for Paper Route Empire to crumble, while the industry wondered if the label could survive without its founder, Key Glock was making moves. But these weren't desperate moves. These weren't emotional reactions. These were calculated, strategic decisions that would prove Young Dolph had taught him well. Move number 1, complete radio silence on business matters. While other artists might have rushed to make statements about the future of the label, while they might have tried to capitalize on the sympathy and attention, Key Glock said nothing about business, nothing about plans, nothing about what came next. Why? Because he understood something that most people in the industry don't. Grief sells, but it doesn't last. Sympathy gets you attention, but it doesn't build empires. Key Glock was playing a longer game. Move number 2, let the music speak. Instead of interviews, instead of public appearances, instead of trying to fill the void with words, Key Glock focused on what mattered most, the craft, the art, the thing that brought him and Young Dolph together in the first place. He went back to the studio, not to rush out a tribute album, not to capitalize on the moment, but to perfect his sound, to honor the lessons Dolph had taught him, to prove that the student had truly learned from the master. Move number 3, strategic patience. This is the move that separates the amateurs from the professionals. Key Glock waited. He let the initial shock wear off. He let the media cycle move on. He let the industry forget about him for a moment. Because he knew something they didn't. He knew that when he came back, when he was ready to make his statement, it would hit harder than anything he could have done in the immediate aftermath. And while he waited, while he planned, while he prepared, something incredible was happening behind the scenes. Young Dolph's streaming numbers exploded, a 573% increase in the weeks following his death. His music was reaching new audiences, his legacy was growing, and Key Glock was watching, learning, understanding the power of timing. But here's the move that nobody saw coming. The move that would prove Key Glock wasn't just Young Dolph's protege, he was his successor. February 24, 2023, 15 months after Young Dolph's death, Key Glock releases Glaucoma 2. And this isn't just an album, this is a declaration. This is Key Glock announcing to the world that Paper Route Empire isn't just surviving, it's thriving. The numbers don't lie. Glaucoma 2 debuts at number 13 on the Billboard 200. 34,000 units sold in the first week. 37.28 million on-demand streams. But here's the kicker. The album is led by a single called Let's Go. And that song becomes a phenomenon. 201 million streams on Spotify, viral on TikTok, a cultural moment that proves Key Glock isn't riding on Young Dolph's legacy, he's building his own. And still, he says nothing about the business, nothing about his plans, nothing about what comes next. Because the next move, the move that would shock the entire industry, was still coming. March 13, 2025, 3.5 years after Young Dolph's death. The announcement drops like a bomb across the music industry. Key Glock, the independent artist who built his career alongside Young Dolph, the rapper who embodied the paper route empire ethos of self-reliance and independence, signed with Republic Records, home to Post Malone, Nicki Minaj, Lil Wayne, the major label powerhouse that represents everything Young Dolph stood against. The hip-hop world is confused, fans are angry, critics are calling it a sellout move. How could Key Glock betray everything Young Dolph taught him? But here's what they don't understand. Here's the genius of the move that nobody saw coming. Key Glock didn't abandon Paper Route Empire, he elevated it. The deal with Republic Records isn't a traditional signing, it's a partnership. Key Glock maintains his relationship with Paper Route Empire while gaining access to Republic's massive distribution network and resources. And when Key Glock explains the decision, you can hear Young Dolph's teachings in every word. I feel like I exceeded my goals as an independent artist. At this point, I'm just working with people that have been operating on the level I already saw myself on. In this next chapter, I'm planning on getting platinum albums and more plaques. This isn't about selling out. This is about scaling up. And here's the most brilliant part of the strategy. Remember Daddy O, the president of Paper Route Empire? Listen to what he says about the deal. Me and Dolph always discussed that maybe one day if it made a lot of sense and if it was the right partner, it could be a possibility. This wasn't Key Glock going rogue. This was Key Glock executing a plan that he and Young Dolph had discussed, a plan that was always part of the long-term vision. Young Dolph didn't just teach Key Glock how to be independent. He taught him when to be independent and when to leverage that independence for something bigger. The Republic Records deal comes with the announcement of a new album, Glockavelli, a tribute to Tupac's Machiavelli, but also a statement about Key Glock's own evolution from student to master. And when Glockavelli drops on May 2nd, 2025, is everything the industry expected and more. The album showcases an artist who has fully come into his own, who has honored his mentor's legacy while building his own empire. But the real power move, the move that proves Key Glock understood the assignment from day one, he's preparing to release unreleased collaborations with Young Dolph. Music they recorded together, music that will keep Dolph's voice alive while cementing Glock's position as the rightful heir to the throne. This is how you honor a legacy, not by preserving it in amber, but by building on it, growing it, taking it to places the original architect could only dream of. Let's go back to that statement Key Glock made 5 days after Young Dolph's death. Remember I told you I got your back no matter what? I guarantee that. Now look at what he's accomplished. Yellow Tape 2, number 7 on the Billboard 200, released just days before Dolph's death. It became a monument to their partnership. Glaucoma 2, number 13 on the Billboard 200. 34,000 first-week sales, led by Let's Go, which has over 200 million streams, certified gold by the RIAA. The Republic Records deal, a major label partnership that maintains the integrity of Paper Route Empire while providing the resources to take it global. Glockavelli, an album that proves Key Glock isn't just carrying Young Dolph's torch, he's lighting new fires with it. And through it all, Paper Route Empire continues to sign new artists, continues to develop talent, continues to represent that Memphis sound that Young Dolph loves so much. The guarantee has been fulfilled, but more than that, it's been exceeded. So what was the silent power move that nobody saw coming? It wasn't any single decision. It wasn't the Republic Records deal or the album releases or the streaming numbers. The silent power move was the mindset, the understanding that the best way to honor Young Dolph wasn't to mourn him, but to become him. Key Glock didn't just inherit Young Dolph's empire, he studied it, he understood it, he improved it, and then he took it to the next level. While everyone else was focused on the tragedy, Key Glock was focused on the opportunity to prove that everything Young Dolph taught him had taken root, the opportunity to show that Paper Route Empire was bigger than any one person, the opportunity to guarantee that the legacy would live forever. And that's the lesson here. That's what separates the students from the masters. The ability to take heartbreak and turn it into motivation, to take grief and transform it into greatness, to take the darkest moment of your life and use it as the foundation for everything that comes next. Key Glock didn't just survive Young Dolph's death, he used it to become the artist, the businessman, the leader that Young Dolph always knew he could be. That's the silent power move nobody saw coming. And that's why Key Glock isn't just Young Dolph's protege anymore. He's the king. This has been the Don's Breakdown. I'm your host, and we've just witnessed one of the most masterful displays of strategic thinking in hip-hop history. Key Glock took the worst moment of his life and turned it into the foundation of an empire. That's how legends are made. Not in the spotlight, but in the silence. Not with words, but with actions. Not by following the playbook, but by writing a new one. Until next time, keep watching for the moves nobody sees coming, because those are the ones that change everything. Peace.